Welcome to the Holistic Health Call, providing practical and science-based solutions to improving your health and feeling your best. The following discussion is for educational purposes only and is not intended to diagnose or treat any disease. Please do not apply any of this information without first speaking with your doctor. To stay up to date on the latest topics as well as all of our prior episodes, please make sure to hit the subscribe button and share these videos with family and friends. Now, let's head to the show.
Hi, I'm Dr. Edward Catalano from the Center for Integrative Health in Little Falls, New Jersey. I'm with my partner, Ray Vasquez, who's a certified personal trainer, does a lot of fitness training and weight loss counseling. But today, the topic is going to be inflammation, cooling the fire. So I'm going to describe a little bit about what is inflammation, how we test for it, and really how to counteract some of the effects of inflammation.
So tell me about inflammation. Is that, like when I get a cut, I know it gets inflamed and everything. Is that
Sure.
Is that what you're talking about, or?
Well, so there's two types.
Okay.
So acute inflammation is when something like that happens. You get a cut, an insect bite, or even something more traumatic. And acute inflammation is extremely important that your body reacts that way. So what that is fluid coming, white cells coming to try and correct the cut, close the cut, make sure it doesn't get infected, and so on. That's a necessary process. What I'm talking about mostly with inflammation and cooling the fire is chronic inflammation.
Okay.
And chronic inflammation is really the root cause of most of our chronic diseases, whether it be cardiovascular diseases, joint pain, anything. And that's a little different mechanism. So what chronic inflammation is when you have these processes going on in your body, either due to poor diet, lack of exercise, stress, lack of sleep. We create these inflammatory patterns and these chemicals that are released, and when they're there for long periods of time, they do damage to other parts of our body.
Okay, tell me about some of the symptoms you might get when you have inflammation.
Yeah, so chronic inflammation can be anything. Anything from a headache, migraines, brain fog. Now we're even finding out early indications of Alzheimer's disease as an inflammatory pattern. It could lead to cardiovascular disease. The most common things I see in my practice are joint pain that doesn't go away, fatigue, GI issues, indigestion, gas, bloating, rashes, skin issues and people have been to dermatologists, they've tried different creams. A lot of times it's from an inflammatory process inside their body that's expressing into, the skin and things like that. But really, it can be anything. But the common ones, like I said, are usually fatigue, joint pain, and GI issues that I see in my practice.
That just makes me think, does that have anything to do with like autoimmune diseases? Or?
Yeah, so autoimmune disease is, an extension of a chronic inflammatory condition.
Okay.
So when your immune system is overreacting because of inflammation, it can start to attack your own cells. And that's what an autoimmunity is, when your own white blood cells attack, so let's say your thyroid gland, which we call Hashimoto's disease, or your cartilage, and we call rheumatoid arthritis. And there's hundreds of them. Even multiple sclerosis is an autoimmune disease where your immune system attacks the sheaths around nerves. But the original impetus to all that is some type of inflammation, usually beginning in the gut, we find now. That's usually the start of autoimmunities.
Right. How do you go about testing for inflammation?
Yeah, that's a real good question, because I see a lot of blood work from other doctors. People bring it in, and most of the time there aren't any biomarkers for inflammation, and they're available from any lab. So the gold standard biomarker is called high sensitivity CRP, or C-reactive protein. It's produced by the liver in response to chronic inflammation. It's been out for decades. There's an old CRP, but now there's a new high sensitivity CRP, which is more accurate. But that's the gold standard. But there's others. There's something called myeloperoxidase. There is uric acid, which we test usually for gout, but it can be a general inflammatory pattern, and even in the absence of gout. Homocysteine is another biomarker, again, easily attainable in most labs, that can detect inflammation and detoxification. And when we do stool testing, one of the ways we can detect inflammation in the GI tract is with something called calprotectin. And that can tell us a lot about how the colon and intestinal system is working for inflammation.
So what can we do to lower inflammation?
Well, mainly, one of the best things we can do is to alter our diet. But we'll get into that in another video because that's a whole nother topic and would take long. But the simple things to do, lifestyle changes, is number one, if you're overweight, to lose weight. Abdominal fat produces these chemicals called cytokines, which induce inflammation down the line. Exercise. So getting exercise 30 minutes a day, you're more knowledgeable about that, weight training, cardio, whatever it is another way to reduce inflammation. And then one that all of us have a lot of trouble with is sleep. Getting good 7 to 8 hours of restorative, productive sleep really sets a tone with our chemistry in our body to reduce inflammation and calms down our immune system. Then there's supplements, which again we'll get into with the foods, but the omega-3 fish oils are extremely anti-inflammatory. Turmerics, curcumins, things like that, and then extra virgin olive oil has been one to know, but we'll get into more of that. Things that raise inflammation that we do in our daily life is processed foods, things fast foods, processed foods. Going along with that, this high fructose corn syrup, which is in our sugary drinks and things like that, causes inflammation. Excessive fatty foods, fried foods, not well fried foods. Those things are just, again, some general things. We can get into more of that.
Right.
But those are some things, if you just avoided that, those kinds of things, and got some exercise and some good sleep, you could start on a lower inflammation process.
I think you're going to notice a big theme in our videos, and you're probably going to hear this in every single video, is nutrition, sleep, exercise. I'm trying to think what else, but those are just common things that's kind of like the baseline of if you want to have a healthy life, those items have to be in there, and not just once in a while. They have to be steady, if you want to live a long life and just be healthy in general.
Right. And again, in our world today, reducing stress, but that goes along with what you just said. So, we find that stress is implicated in most of the chronic illnesses.
Yeah.
And we have to learn to deal with these things. But, we'll be talking more about in some future videos about how to actually reduce inflammation through diet, what supplements, and what things people are doing that are increasing inflammation. We'll be getting into all that soon.
Good.
Thank you for watching and listening to the Holistic Health Call. Our goal of these videos is to keep it short and sweet and give you one piece of information that you can use in your daily lifestyle.